If you've spent any time in studios, on gear forums, or browsing Sweetwater with dollar signs in your eyes, you are definitely familiar with the Neumann U87 AI. It's a legend in the studio world, but over the years, I've seen tons of good arguments for and against buying a U87. It's a mic with a lot of cachet, the French kind with a T, that is, and a lot of history. And to some, it has set the standard that other condenser mics are measured against. So in this video, we'll go over the pros and the cons of this classic microphone, and by the end, we'll answer the most important question. Should you buy this $3,500 microphone? Of course, price is the first thing that jumps out to most people who are shopping for gear. But before we discuss dollars and cents, I want to talk about what's most important with music gear: the sound. This goes down as a huge pro for the U87. While there are arguments to be made about mic preferences, I would question anyone who says they can't get a good sound out of the U87. It's a high-fidelity microphone that accurately captures a high level of detail in the studio. If you find yourself recording acoustic instruments and vocals often, the U87 is a safe and a dependable choice, and it'll have no trouble capturing great-sounding performances. Some producers and engineers find that it highlights the harshness of certain voices or instruments, but I believe that's usually something that you can solve with proper placement or by encouraging better technique from the performer. Of course, there's no one single best microphone for every voice or instrument, but the U87 has a pretty solid chance of being a good to great option for just about any voice. The only con I can think of for sound is that it has a relatively low max SPL of 117 decibels, or 127 with the pad engaged, which we will talk about later. So the U87 sounds great, but is it worth the price? To get into that, we need to talk about versatility. The U87 is one of the more versatile microphones out there, mainly due to its selectable polar patterns. It's not the only mic with these options, and there are some budget mics out there with way more patterns to choose from, but the cardioid, figure 8, and omni patterns will cover the bases you need for like 99% of recordings. While in theory, you could get a cheaper mic like the Lewitt Audio 441 Flex to get more polar patterns, there's something to be said about not having to put away your nicest mic to use one that you don't prefer just because the cheaper one has more features. If you're interested in mid-side recording or trying omnidirectional mic techniques, the U87 will allow you to do so without compromising on sound. That said, there is one ding to the U87's versatility that I mentioned earlier: the low max SPL. So while it's not the most sensitive mic in the world, it will clip at around 117 decibels or 127 with the pad engaged, which pretty much eliminates it from use in really loud settings. Your U87 won't appreciate screaming vocals or super loud guitar amps. So if you're looking to produce the next metal album of the year, you may want to look for something with a higher max SPL. So we've covered the sound, we've covered versatility, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Is this mic worth the cost? So let's be 100% honest. $3,500 for one microphone is nothing to scoff at. While there are mics that cost double or even triple the U87, it is still one of the more expensive options out there. That's an obvious con for a lot of people, but there's a pretty serious pro within that. Because the U87 has been around for a long time, you can save a lot of money buying them used. If you're patient and you keep an eye out for a good deal, you can often get one for under $2,000, which is a pretty big savings. When it comes to the cost of gear, is it worth it? Is a highly personal question, but there are some groups of people we can lump together and give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So, if you're looking to own a commercial studio, I give the U87 a big thumbs up, especially if it's the type of studio that engineers or producers will rent by the day or by the hour. If your business has a gear list on its website, having a U87 in that list is a big plus, and you can consider this mic an investment towards building that business. If you were building a car rental service from the ground up, you could mostly stock your fleet with Kias, Toyotas, and Hondas. Those will get you from point A to point B. But it's not a bad idea to add a couple Audis, BMWs, or Range Rovers to the mix for people who want to drive those cars to a special event. While you can make great recordings and get from A to B with more budget gear, it's never a bad idea to have a few pieces of aspirational gear on hand when you're looking to rent out your studio. There will sometimes be clients who want a specific mic when booking a studio, and being able to say yes to those people when they ask if you have a U87, well, that is a good thing. If you're a producer or an engineer who mostly works directly with their own clients, I'd say that the U87 is a great choice, but it's not the only choice. The fact of the matter is that you can get a great sound with lots of mics out there, and most artists you'll work with don't know as much about gear as you do. If you're this deep into a YouTube video about microphones, you're probably familiar with lots of mic brands. But trust me, out of the hundreds of artists that I've worked with, an overwhelming majority wouldn't know a Rode NT1A from a U87 from a VMS. That said, this mic does sound great. So if you want to upgrade from a budget mic to a premium one, saving up for a U87 will give you a big jump up in quality. If you're someone who is building a project studio in your home as a hobbyist, I think the U87 is an amazing choice, but your money may go further elsewhere. Spending more on treating your room and getting a better interface, more preamps, well, that may be the move, but ultimately the choice will be up to you. If money is no object, I will never tell someone not to buy the nicest mic that they can afford, because it will only make your recordings better as soon as you take it out of the box. If you're a freelancer or someone who mostly works with smaller budgets but occasionally has a big job, I think you might want to look into something that not a lot of people do, which is renting a U87. In major cities, you can typically find a U87 for rent for somewhere between $75 and $125 a day. And if you can pass that cost on to your clients, it might be a way to get you access to that mic just on the days that you really need it. Dropping $3,500 on a mic that's going to spend 355 days a year in its box is probably not the best use of your funds. And last but not least, if you're an artist looking to build an amazing vocal chain for yourself, I think the U87 is a great choice. But similar to the self-employed producer, you may find better value out there. I'll link to an article about my favorite condenser mics in every price bracket in the pinned comment, so you can check that out if you want. If you're looking for a mic that's a little more budget friendly, then check out this video here where I go over some of my favorite mics that are under $1,000. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more music production videos on your homepage, because I post a brand new one every single week.